My stepfather, who's like a very like sober thinking, like rational person, went to Gettysburg. And he said, you can feel the sadness.
Yeah.
He goes, it just feels horrible. Like you're there and you feel death. He goes, I've never felt anything like that. Like you're at a battleground. And, you know, even though it's 200 years ago or whatever it was, less than 200 years ago, you feel it. He goes, you can feel it. He goes, I had to get out of there.
Yeah, that's the thing with some of these places. It's not necessarily like, oh, like, you know, immediately just like, oh, yeah, this is spiritual energy or whatever like that. But it's just heavy. Or it's just like you feel off when you go into these places. Like as soon as you stepped into the Conjuring house. Have you ever seen the Conjuring movies?
Yes.
So they're actually based on a real house in Rhode Island. And that was one of those places that we had walked into, and you were like almost getting nauseous.
I almost threw up. And I'm not... So what's interesting about the paranormal and what we've learned the past 4 years is that it affects people differently. Some people can see stuff. Some people claim they're mediums and can communicate more. I feel like I have more of like an empathic, like almost like I just feel worse like whenever there's something around. And so when we first walked into the Conjuring house, like there was a point where I thought I was going to throw up and I was looking for exits.
What's the real story behind the Conjuring house? What's the actual story?
So, yeah, the movie story is like this witch, Bathsheba or whatever. But the actual story, there's a bunch of different things that they say are haunted, but it's actually built on the grounds of the...
Is that the house?
That's
yeah,
it.
It's creepy. It's an amazing house.
The state that launched the Conjuring universe.
There we go. Yeah.
Like, what is like the Marvel Comics universe? What does that mean? The Conjuring universe? How weird.
Oh, jeez.
That's the problem. Like people, when you start making an industry out of something,
Turns into a business.
Yeah. So what's the original story?
So the most famous we'll get to, but like it's built on the same grounds that the King Philip's War was fought on, like right at the beginning of United States and everything. So the main people that haunt it are like 7 dead soldiers that this little girl always kept seeing in the walls, and thus it started manifesting more to the entire family. So this family called the Perrin family bought the place in like I think 1972, and for 10 years they said they would see, you know, these figures, these soldiers walking around, like their beds would shake, they would get scratches, like, and it kept getting worse over the 10 years. And the crazy part is it got to become famous because of like the final day that like changed it all. They wanted to do like an exorcism on the house because I think, who was the mom Perrin? Whatever.
Caroline or something?
Carolyn Perrin. Yeah, Carolyn Perrin
Something
was
like that.
getting like really bad. Like she would have things happen to her every single day. You know, furniture would move, all these sort of things. She was getting like really rash with everything. So she brought in these demonologists to her.
Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Ed and Lorraine
if you've heard of
Warren.
them before.
No.
They're like the demonologists, the paranormal investigators. They are like the fathers of it all.
Yeah.
Maybe I have heard of them. Are they featured in the Zach Bagan
Yes.
Museum?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's where I've heard of them.
Yeah, which is also a crazy place.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. But yeah, so anyway.
I just went.
Really?
You just
I
went?
just went a couple weeks ago.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, my daughter dragged me to that too.
Hey, there we go. Vegas. Yeah, so they were doing this like exorcism, and
That's them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's those folks. Okay.
And
so they do an exorcism there.
they were doing an exorcism, and I don't know exactly prior to whatever happened and why they called it. She was just having a bad time, just like, you know, over the last couple of years, and they wanted to end. And to her claim, she was actually thrown like across the
Levitated
entire like room and smashed into a wall to where she had injuries. And they were so angry about that they actually kicked out the demonologist.
They punched Ed in the face.
Yeah, they punched that guy in the face because they thought he was the guy that was like making it worse. But I think it just like pissed him off. And so that thing.
When you say they punched him in the face, you mean the ghosts punched him in the face?
No. The Perrin
The
family.
dad,
Sorry.
the dad did. Or
Oh,
something,
okay.
yeah.
The Perrin family was like,
They're getting assaulted?
the Perrin family, yeah, was like really
They punched
upset.
him in the face because he thought that he threw the wife across the room? Or
Yeah.
he was
He
responsible
thought
for it?
they made it, or he was there, and like the exorcism that he was conducting made it more angry, which in turn hurt his wife.
Oh, so he got angry.
He was like,
but
"Stop
you
doing this."
Brought him
Punched
in.
him.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly,
It's like
yeah.
hiring a priest
Sell
and
the
then
house,
punching
bro.
a priest.
Right,
It's like,
right.
Move.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
the fuck is wrong with
Move
you?
down the street.
Punching people.
So The Perrin family actually wrote a book about that, and
Really?
they say the Conjuring movies actually don't do it justice of all the things that happened and all the movements and the craziness that happened in that 10 years that they lived there. They were
Really?
like, in the real life, actually experiencing it and the trauma that they went through, they say it's like 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Than
And so they feel like it was dead soldiers, like murdered soldiers on the battlefield. Somehow or another, that's
Well, here's where it gets interesting is they don't know what it is, but they believe it is something more evil or demonic, whatever you believe in, that is like controlling all of these like soldiers and stuff and trapping them. Movie goes with that's a person named Bathsheba who was like a neighbor who everybody just thought was a witch. But in real life, it was just known as a demonic possession, but no trace back of like what it was.
That's an interesting thing, right? Like, because that's in a lot of these cases. They feel like it's not just ghosts, but it's ghosts that are being controlled by some sort of a demonic entity.
Right.
And the demonic entity keeps these ghosts there, which is like another layer of belief you have to have.
Exactly.
Like, you just don't just believe that maybe when people die, their energy gets left behind, and then maybe that energy gets controlled by demons.
Exactly.
It's like, oh my God.
It's
now
like another level.
We're so into crazy now.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm willing to go there.
It gets meta. It gets very meta.
But if you did encounter a demon, nobody would fucking believe you. And then
hell
you would
no.
be trapped. You would be this person who for the rest of your life, oh, there goes Bob and his fucking demon stories.
Yeah.
Like no one would buy it. But
exactly. Same thing with aliens or
right.
anything. Like
Yeah,
anything you
right.
see that are outside of this like logical
Physical world.
normal daily encounters. Yeah. Anything outside of that, Bigfoot, anything. Anything where you see things. And there's been many times that people have seen things that they swear were real. And you go, God, that poor fuck. I would rather not see those things and then just have everybody just looking at you. Oh, here comes Mike with his wacky ideas.